Sam Altman said something that sounded insane until you realize it really isn't. Inside OpenAI, they're asking the question, and I don't know if this is jokingly or if this is serious or they had some sort of bet, but the question is, when does one person build a billion-dollar company using AI alone? They're talking about not a team, not a startup, just one person. Because that future, it's not coming, it's already starting. So what we're looking at is quietly a small group of people have figured something out that something for the rest of the market has not caught up to yet. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So today I'm going to show you exactly what's changing, what's happening, why this is happening faster than most people are prepared for, and what are some risks that we could truly see? All right, so let's talk about what has changed, okay? We're not talking about using AI to save time. That's just at the surface level. What we're talking about is what is actually happening right now. It's a shift from tools to systems that are acting, which is agentic AI. You don't need tons of software that waits for instructions, but what this changes is systems that take a goal, they can execute it. So before, what it used to be was you asked AI one thing, you stayed in control, you give it step-by-step instructions, you prompt it, and then it gives you an output. It's an AI chatbot. But the change is that you give it now an outcome, it moves in speed. It does the research, it writes, it finds the information, it brainstorms, it schedules, it follows up. And this entire workflow is handled without you touching every step. Yes, you can put yourself in it. You can assign it instructions that, hey, I can approve whatever, but the benefit of this or the big time change is that you can do it when you're offline. You can do it when you're sleeping and it will be ready for you whenever you're up. So what's happening in code, in content, in operations, in support, in administrative tasks? Or there's even a name for it, vibe coding. It's basically this. It's all happening and it's happening completely. And work is something that you design and it's not something that you do. It's changing big time. So the data is moving just as fast as the technology, and over 65% of the companies are actually using generative AI right now, which is a big change from last year. The number was about 50% or so, 50 to 50%, 55%. And so I don't think this is early anymore. It's almost like it's spreading fast. A lot of people are trying to adopt, and globally the spending is on track to cross over 300 billion by 2026. So what will happen is most, software, this is happening soon, is it's not just going to be AI powered. It will be software. It will be built into everything, physical devices, chatbots into all these websites. It's going to be something. So that's the kind of change that's happening. And here's the number that should actually stop you. The cost of this for a full stack of agentic AI or AI systems and automation is anywhere from $200 to $500 a month. It could be a little bit less, but there are some that have this change. Now, a year ago, this kind of output was not even possible. In fact, I think it would be costing multiple incomes, multiple capital. But the change is the cost of execution has collapsed. And what happens is everything is being built on top of it. So let's talk about this because this is not just a theory. We're seeing people operate this in real time. What people are doing, they're founders, they're creators, they're people who are freelancers. They're all trying to build these SaaS companies alone. So there's sort of this rise in people who are tripling, doubling their effort. They're going through these systems, trying to learn and catch up. Or the way I see it is they might hire certain people who have these skills and then they work in simultaneously with them. So creators or people who are freelancers, what they do is they have one idea and they distribute it. They have generation for everything, all these from idea generation to completion, everything is done automatically and asynchronously. So for a lot of people, what this means is that, they just continue to keep using AI for everything, for thinking, automation, tools, systems. Ideally, they're all tools, they all work together, and that's kind of that co-relational, infrastructure that they're trying to build. So something that is undeniable for this is that if these individuals are producing what we used to think at a holistic level, it's a bunch of teams, right? Maybe 5, 10, different types of people who used to do all of this. What does it mean for all the other people? What does it mean for designers? What does it mean for people who do some kind of creative start? And companies or other people who are hiring or solo businesses or who are planning to do this, what happens to that complete paradigm of what it meant before? There was a lot of workforce, talent, support, operations, execution. So that exact force that used to be there now is changing, and this may or may not require people. So we're not talking about predictions here. We're talking about early signals of the system that's building right now in real time. And it's not shifting, it's heading that way. So even people, if they do not know about this, they're learning about it. So what does this mean? And this is just a small version of this entire story. There's a bigger shift that's happening, and it costs like pretty much nothing if you think about how much is the cost of this and what is the output and the value of it. So now you're no longer tied to where you built or what you can earn or where you want to do this from. So the options literally become limitless. So what this means is we're talking about personal economic changes. So the way I see it is in the next 12 to 24 months, we're likely to see more in, 1 or 2 people businesses. We're kind of seeing this income flow remotely, globally. And we're seeing people who are building this in real time without permission, teams, and so on. It's just a one-man show, right? Especially the people who are knowledgeable in this. They're going to live a different kind of life. And this is sort of a race in a way. I think there's a lot of people who are trying this and they're learning it, and there's a learning curve to it. But if some of these people may or may not be technical, if they have that kind of logic and flow, they're working towards it. Now, a couple of things to point. This is obviously going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. Possibly is going to take some capital or investment. People are buying products out there, and there are things that do not automate, right? So you can't just throw some prompts and expect it to build everything. Yeah, there you can, but it's not going to be the same as something that is of taste, of value, of logic, of making sense. And there are a couple of other things that you cannot automate. AI cannot creatively think or build something on its own. It requires data sets, it requires training, it requires understanding. So the people who kind of build this will need to have judgment, taste, trust, and possibly also understand human relationships, because essentially if you're trying to build something, a product of value, you have to understand human relationships and why basically this makes sense. Those will stay with that person. Those will stay with you. And so these are some real risks that happen. And the other thing is that people may or may not be totally addicted to it, right? There's a chance that systems will fail, outputs might break, and there might be errors. Suppose you prompt something and you provide this data and this information. If it's wrong, the entire project is going to be broken. So skill does matter, and AI does not fix bad thinking. It simply scales it. So there will still have to be people looking at the entire project in a process where it makes sense logically, makes analytical sense. So if your inputs are weak, your outcomes will also be the same, right? So you have to question it, you have to audit, you have to understand what is something that you're building, even though you may or may not have knowledge about this. So in close, I think what it is that the shift is definitely here. The data confirms it. There's a lot of shifts that are happening. There's a paradigm. There's a lot of estimates also that there's people who are early operators or people who have that skill. Maybe they're skilled in something else and they're using those transferable skills for this. So the question is truly simple. If this happens, what happens to one person or teams? And what does it mean for one person with the right systems, with the right type of thinking? The question used to be hypothetical. It used to be philosophical. I know we always had these, in the 80s, 90s, and even now we have a lot of these people who are talking about AI and systems, but now we can see that it has a timeline. We can see that it makes sense and we can see the data. All right, guys, I'm Manisha. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me for more information about where global money meets personal freedom. I talk about smart topics. I talk about topics about crypto, AI, tech, and multiple other things. All right, cheers.